The main issues with Venture's kit is the margin of error that's given to the gun, or simply its skill requirement. Now the term skill has become a sort of buzzword at this point, since most people who discuss it don't fully explain what it means for something to be skillful, or the impact skill-based gameplay has on the player experience. So I'm going to explain what it means for something to be skill-based, how skill affects the power of a character, and its impact on the game's health. So we're going to talk about what it means to be skill-based first. We're going to put these two in a little box and get to these two later. Let's handle this first. So being skill-based is kind of a broad term. So pretty much skill just means the precision of an action. Basically, the more precise an action is, the more skillful it is. Technically, all characters in the game are skill-based. There are just different requirements for skill with each character. Now, a good way to check what's a character's required skill is to look at their kit. We can use Ana and Zen here as an example. So the yellow circle represents my crosshair, and the cyan circle represents Zen's target radius. Anyone in that circle can be targeted. Whereas with Ana, you can see her cyan circle, which is anyone in that circle gets healed, is way smaller here. Ana's method of healing is far more precise than Zen's. You also have to time your healing. What this precision means is that you can actually mess up on Ana. So here you can see I'm shooting at my Reaper, and because of that precision requirement that Ana has, I miss my shots and he dies for it. Whereas this Zen is able to hit the heal rather easily because of his target radius. He doesn't have to be so precise, which means he's very consistent. Baptiste is much the same. He's just kind of like Ana, but way worse. He's the best of both worlds. He gets the easiness of Zenyatta, but he gets the power of Ana. You can see here he shot the wall, which would count as a miss by Ana's standards, but because he has the blast radius, he's able to do this really consistently, right? It's obviously really easy to hit a wall rather than hitting a target all the time, since consistency is determined by skill. The easier something is to do, the more we can perform that action because of its easiness. So for our next point of discussion, we're going to talk about opportunity to fail. Now this is going to be really easy to explain. So the main reason why competition is engaging is because when someone fails, it gives the opponent an opportunity to capitalize, right? That can only happen if you have an opportunity to fail. I'll use this clip here for an example. So here you're going to see opportunity to fail being demonstrated. So here, the Pharah shot at me recklessly. That's one opportunity she messed up on. Genji did the same thing, shot into my block as well. That's another opportunity he messed up on. And because of that, I'm able to capitalize on them by empowering punching. Now this counts as another mistake they did. They jumped up into Doomfist's main range, and I get a double kill on them because of that. Now if you pay attention right there, you see Kiriko didn't die. It's like, why? And that's because she didn't make the mistake that these three did. She dropped down when she saw my punch, whereas these three didn't reposition. They just kind of stood there and let me hit him. And because of that, I wasn't able to punish her, so she lived. Now that clip makes Overwatch look fine, but most characters in the cast don't really have that opportunity to fail that they should have. I'm going to use Doomfist and Harissa to showcase this.
Hello there.
So in theory, Doomfist is superior to Orisa. His rocket punch, which is his main CC, is able to stun multiple targets at once. He can gain health back, or I should say armor, and it just helps him traverse around, which gives him more presence. As you can see in this clip, he's way faster than Orisa thanks to his abilities, mostly rocket punch. And yet, when you use Doomfist's rocket punch against someone like Orisa's spear, you'll notice she gets more value than Doomfist would out of his punch. And there's one very simple reason for that. It's the opportunity to fail, or I just call that a mess up here. Pretty much, the lower your mess up rate is, the more success you have, and the more success you have, obviously, the more value you get. One of the main ways they reduce the mess ups for Orisa is with her spear. They make it way faster than any other CC in the game, so you don't have to lead your shots as much, and then the cooldown rate is much faster, which means you as an opponent have less time to punish her. Fire rate is another way they reduce the opportunity for failure for these characters. So the longer a fire rate pretty much means the more emphasis you put into each shot. This goes for Doomfist, Ramatra, pretty much any single fire character. If you miss a shot, you have to wait a certain amount of time before you can hit them again. And that's really important because in that small time frame, they can react to you. Orisa doesn't have this at all. Like any other autofire character, she can just spray and pray, which is crazy useful. If she misses a shot, that's fine. Whereas with Doomfist, if he misses a shot, he has to wait that entire time interval before he gets to shoot again. If he messes up again, well, too bad, you have to wait again. And this is a huge way that they balance Doomfist's damage as well. Even get quaked on, one of the best Doom players in general. Every time he misses a shot, he has to lose so much value. And that's because of Doomfist's limitation. He has to perform near perfectly if he wants to get value out of his character. You don't really see that with Orisa, like at all. What this effectively means for Doomfist is that his opportunity to fail is really high because of his skill level. Anytime he messes up, he pays a huge price for it, which is why Doomfist is considered such a difficult character to play. He has to put in a large amount of effort to get any sort of reward for it, and anytime he fails, he pays a huge price. The enemy is able to respond to him, and he kind of has to wash, rinse, and repeat. Now, for the last part of the video, how does skill affect the power of a character? This is also really simple to explain. So if you remember before, when I made reference to how skillful a character is, or their skill requirement, there's actually one thing you have to consider when looking at the skill of a character, and that is the power of a character. Depending on how skillful a character is, should determine how powerful they are. This is what you call a sort of skill to value ratio. If it's 1-to-1, it's really healthy for the game, whereas some characters don't really have this. For example, with Moira, you can see her skill level is really low, but she gets much more power relative to her skill level, whereas Tracer only gets her power after she puts in the work. The reason why this is important is because of consistency. If a character can gain a lot of value at a low skill level, they can obviously do it really consistently since most people can handle that. Whereas Tracer has to put in a bunch of work to get those high power moments. That's why you don't see Tracers one-clipping everyone every single time they go out. It's because it's really hard to do that, and humans can't really do that on average. Whereas a Moira can consistently win a 1v1 with a Tracer because she doesn't have to focus as much when fighting her. So pretty much I just made a graph here to show the power skill ratio. With Tracer, depending on your skill, translates how much power you have. Because Tracer is obviously really hard. If you don't put in any effort, any skill, you get nothing for her. Whereas with Moira, even if you're really bad at games, like mechanically, you still gain a decent amount of power. Now it's true, it's not as strong as Tracers, obviously at the highest level. But the problem is when you try to improve with Tracer, let's say you're a Plat or you're Diamond, you're fighting against a Moira who's also Plat or Diamond, you're probably going to lose more often. That's really unfun, since it discourages you from improving. It's like, why even start with the effort to begin with when I can just get the value early? It indulges you pretty much. If we take everything we talked about in this video, it can be applied directly to Venture, unfortunately. The dash has a huge hitbox, which means it's perfect for low skill players who want to get easy rewards. Again, this is the Moira problem. They don't have to put in any work and they can get a huge reward for it. I'm demonstrating it here with this clip just to show you how crazy the hitbox is. Not only that does it do huge amounts of damage, it also has CC, which as we know in Overwatch is really strong, just the ability to displace a character. So yeah, you can see you don't even have to line up Venture and he gets all that damage. The hitbox radius on his primary fire is also huge. He shoots the ground like 2 meters off of Genji and still does chip damage. The dash is so egregious, they don't even have to line up the crosshair to get the value, which is a problem because it kills that idea of improvement. When you practice something, you get better at it. But if you gain all the rewards at the beginning, it kills the meaning of practice. You don't feel the satisfaction of getting better. And players who do practice get punished, since players who don't practice can still show them up in terms of performance. It's no wonder people don't want to play the hard heroes when the easy heroes can do it all, like Moira, for example, or Brig. That's kind of everything I wanted to say on this. The reason I'm even making this video is because there's obviously a lot of talk about the balancing since Mauga and Diva are now like the big metas. There's a lot of people talking about nerfs, about what to nerf, and really, you don't really need all these super complicated things. Something as simple as making Venture Precision character, removing their blast radius and just making them only function on direct hits, reducing the hitbox size of their dash, would really go a long way in terms of balancing them. The players who get good with Venture, they have a lot of power. The players who are bad with Venture, well, time to grow up and get better at them. You don't want to nerf a character in terms of power. It's rarely a good thing. It makes them unsatisfying to play. That's why no one likes Lifeweaver. He doesn't really have any initiative. He's more of like a protector than an actual playmaker, compared to Ana, who has a bunch of power and a bunch of playmaking abilities. So that's about it, and good night.